We're live. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting edition of Coffee, Tea, You and Me with me, Coach Powell. Now, many of you know I've been doing this show for almost 20 years. I didn't start doing it online, though, until COVID hit. And for 20 years, I've been sitting down with entrepreneurs, business leaders, thought leaders all over the world, just kind of thinking about what we need to do to rescue, to support, to maintain, and uphold the value of small business America. How do we take these small women and minority owned businesses and get to them the information, the people, the talent, the expertise, whatever they need to do to thrive? I'm not about survival, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I'm about thriving. Let's do what we need to do to help each other thrive. Now, today, the show is going to be fantastic. If you've been following what we've been doing over the last few episodes, we've been talking about everything that you need to put forward in your business plan to make you successful in 2023. And so I understand we're getting into the year already, because those of you who have written it, you need to go back and look at these lessons and then retool your plans so that you can be more successful, right? You need to know how to create your vision so that it makes sense for you. You know how to create a sense of mission. You need to learn how to look at your goals and your strategy to make sure those are on point. Today, we're starting the series on habits. How do you generate the daily, weekly, monthly, personal habits that are going to make you successful? Now, I'm going to give you a little bit talking about habits a little later, but right up front, guys, I got to introduce to you a power player in the game. What game am I talking about? The game of entrepreneurship, the game of business, the game of leadership, the game of success is all Kevin Williams is about. This gentleman, oh my God, I can't say enough about how powerful he is just as a person. And he has given us his time to engage with us on the Leverage Up conference. And I can't thank him enough for that. And I'll be paying him back probably for the rest of my life in terms of helping him figure out, what we can do to increase the collaborative universe and grow each other's businesses to the best of our ability. And we are all about it, my friend. We are doing it. We're taking care of it. And so I'm going to bring Kevin right up. Real at the top of the show. I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his story. And then we're going to get right into the meat and the potatoes of this thing. So we can get Kevin off to his grandson's basketball game, and he could be a good grandpa. That's super important. That's more important to spend time with you people. So we got to get that done. Okay, I'm going to take a quick little break. Don't forget. No matter what you do today, if you can show the show to somebody else, if you can pass it on, thank you very much. If you can hit the thumbs up, the likes, whatever you're watching us from, if you're watching us from YouTube, if you're watching us from LinkedIn, you're watching us from Facebook, it doesn't matter. Put your information in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from. Ask any questions that you want to ask. And if we can't get to the questions right now, we will definitely get to the questions later on. I'll definitely keep you in mind, put you in the chat. If you have information you want to share about your business, about anything about your business, put that information in the chat. I'll try to make sure we publicly give you a shout out on screen. This is a business-friendly show. We want you to show up, strut your stuff, get engaged, follow along, ask the questions, do whatever you need to do, because it's about you and your success. And we're not going to be happy unless we create that success or help you generate that success. Okay, quick break. I'll show you a little commercial really quick, and then we'll come back and we'll get started with Kevin. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Kevin Williams. Make sure you take your microphone off, mute Kevin. This guy, guys, I got to tell you, is just a super rock star, a genius in our midst. And I'm so happy and thankful that he even allows me to spend some time and some space with me. We're going to get you right out of here, right off the bat, Kevin. Tell us quickly a little bit about yourself, your company, what you do, what your claim to fame is. And then we'll get right into the meat and the potatoes of this thing.
All right. Well, I am Kevin Williams. I am the CEO of Tech Connects. We are about to celebrate our 10th anniversary We design and build collaborative audio-visual systems. We also have a patented smart cities and smart facilities solution that has embedded sensor-based technologies in gunshot detection, thermal detection. Um, we have LED lighting systems that are just perfect for stadium environments and city lights, street lights, highways, and have an amazing partner. We've been in business 10 years. We're a service disabled, veteran-owned business. Just glad to be here in this space with you, Coach. Every time we get a chance, to have conversation, we just learn so much about how to do what we do better. I'm on the board of directors for the Capital Region of the National Minority Supplier Development Council, the former Minority Business Enterprise Input Committee Chair, and the National Treasurer for the National Minority Supplier Development Council's Input Committee. I also am the chairman of the board for a charity in Prince William County, Virginia called Project Mendhouse, and the chairman of the board for the National Minority Emerging and Innovative Technologies Consortium.
Wow.
They're just a group of amazing minority-owned businesses that are in the emerging and innovative technologies field. We partner with HBCUs for training purposes to help them with research and development projects, get access to funds that are available through grants from the federal government and from commercial philanthropic organizations. Proud husband of 39 years, 3 beautiful daughters, an amazing wife, Michelle, 13 grandchildren, and 16 foster sons.
Wow. 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 I thought I was a volunteer junkie. I sit on several boards and commissions myself, and I thought I was like, I see I'm not doing enough now. I'm gonna have to do more. Like, wait a minute. If Kevin can do at least 10, I could do 10. I can do that. So let me just see if I'm gonna see if I can out volunteer you. By the next time we talk, I'll have like 5 more boards on my resume. Anyhow, today's topic is all about habits, Kevin, and I know you don't get to where you are today without developing some powerful positive habits. We all have negative habits. We all have, some things that we wish we could do better. All right. But if you were to tell all the entrepreneurs out there who listen to this show, what are the most powerfully positive habits that you see that they're going to have to embrace to be super successful, fulfilled, happy, well, whatever, however you want to think about it in the future? What are those habits?
Well, there are several. Actually, I learned early being a military brat and then spending some time in the military myself that thing about the early bird getting the worm is true. It's true. You cannot let half of your day get away from you by just putzing around in the morning, wandering around aimlessly, not knowing what you've got to get done. Get up early, get your mind going, get yourself hydrated, get your exercise routine in, and then set your schedule up for the next day, the day before. So when you get up, you don't waste time trying to figure out the order of your day. You can literally know what you have to do from the time your feet hit the floor that guides you into that first meeting, which for me sometimes is as early as 7 o'clock. Sometimes earlier, depending on, where I've got to go and where I've got to travel to get to a meeting. But you need to order your steps early. You need to get up early. Don't linger. Set your schedule the night before so that you know what you're doing the very next day. You have those things laid out and you're organized. Be organized. The next thing you need to do is be engaged. Just don't go through the motions, of being in meetings and leading your people just for the sake of, doing those things. You have to be purposeful, impactful, and intentional, and then truly be engaged in that, whether it's, the order of your day for your business, whether it is the volunteer work that you're doing, for, industry work or for your church, whatever. Just be engaged. You have to make yourself available and then be ready for opportunities when opportunities present. And if you're not engaged and you're not in the right place, in the right space, with the right mindset for creating the kind of success that you need for your company, for your people, for your staff, for your community, for your industry, you're going to miss out on a lot of things because you're not all the way there.
Absolutely.
So, the other part, that, a lot of folks don't do is follow up. So you reach into opportunities, folks make information available to you, and you just simply let those opportunities get away from you. And then you slip deadlines. Folks don't know how to say thank you anymore. I mean, one of the big things that I do after we win, after we have great conversations, I send thank you cards, handwritten thank you cards, not a text message, not an email. Write out a message that simply says thank you. That's a great thing to do if you're not in the practice of, sending out, personal, thank you cards. Technology is wonderful, but there's nothing like, getting a thank you card in the mail for somebody to, take a moment out of their day and actually, well, you don't want to lick a stamp, but put a stamp on an envelope and get that envelope in the mail. And lastly, you have to take care of yourself. Men and women, ladies and gentlemen, get yourself to the doctors, get a checkup, get a physical, get that blood work done. Don't be putting off things. You cannot take care of yourself, your families, and your staff and your business if you haven't taken care of yourself. Drink plenty of water. Make sure you got a pretty good diet, at least half decent diet. And the most important thing that you can do in all those things, two things, is one is get rest, get enough sleep. Some of us are, busy, and you're getting 2-3 hours, of sleep. You need to rest. And after all of this work, you need to find some time to recreate. You need to get away, shut things down, get yourself, into somebody's sand or into the mountains, or find a way to, center yourself and get peace and just unplug from the nonsense so you can rest, revive, reboot, refresh, and get back into the game, having had enough rest so that you can be rejuvenated enough to be effective and impactful in your work.
Oh my God. You gave me so much meat. Oh my goodness. Listen, so guys, I want to tell you, like this is Kevin's a game changer. He's been at this for a while, and he takes no prisoners when it comes to knowing what he's all about and what he wants to do when it comes to his business. And so when he's telling you, the first thing he said out of his mouth, I want you to understand this: get up and get going. Get up early and get going. You don't have time to languish around. Now, there's some things you got to do to get up and get going early. You got to get in the bed, right? You got to get a restful sleep, a rejuvenating sleep. I'm going to tell you a little secret my wife and I just discovered. We had been sleeping on a mattress that was probably 20 years old or more.
Big one.
Didn't even know what that was costing us in our effectiveness during the day until we replaced that mattress with a brand new one.
Mm-hmm.
Got one of these, Sealy Posturepedic, joints that was really good, right? And then we bought some sheets. And I'm talking, we didn't go down to Walmart and get cheap sheets. No. We got expensive sheets, right? And then we went and got one of these weighted blankets that is cool in the summertime and warm in the wintertime. Ooh, let me tell you.
Life-changing.
Now, I used to be a guy who hated going to bed, because it felt like I was being dormant. I got too much to do. I got so much going on. Who has time? Sleep is for punks. I used to say stuff like that. And until I started really understanding what rest and rejuvenation was all about. Because just sleeping, I'm not interested in just sleeping. I gotta sleep. I gotta re-energize. I gotta rejuvenate. I gotta renew, my mind and my abilities so I can perform well the next day. And all the things that I have to perform. I have several roles that I have to perform. I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a community leader. I am, sitting around, with my hats in so many different things and my fingers in so many different things. And I'm an introvert, which means I don't really like being around all these people that I have to be around.
You're an introvert? No.
Absolutely. I'm a very planned extrovert. I plan my extroverted moments, and then I got to go have a drink afterwards. But I even drink responsibly.
Well, you said a mouthful about rest and to have a good mattress, folks. I'm telling you, you only get one back, and you only get 2 feet. Take care of your back by getting yourself a really good mattress. Not a commercial, but I can tell you 2 years ago, we bought one of those Sleep Number beds, and life changing. You just don't know what you've been missing by taking care of your back, and take care of your feet. It's important that you get the right kind of shoes. They have the right kind of lift. They have the right kind of arch support. Those things wreak havoc on your life, particularly if you're a little bit on the heavy side, and you just don't know what you don't know. So get your feet checked out, get your back checked out, get your checkups, and invest in your rest. Invest in your shoes, and take care of your back. It'll take care of you if you take care of it. Same with your feet.
So I want to get back to planning early, because time management has been a passion of my life since I was about 21 years old, and I first discovered the Franklin planning system. I've been using it or something like it my entire life, and I've been trained, and I've even led training and development efforts for the whole Franklin Covey system as they begin to roll that out. And I have to say, I've never been able to successfully stray from my paper planning system, because it's a place where I can control my notes, I can control my calendar, I can control my contacts, I can control, my daily task list. And that's what we're talking about right now, because your habits are the things that you have to, especially the positive ones, you have to keep in front of you all day, every day. If you don't remember, okay, of course, you got to, all the things Kevin said, you got to take care of yourself, right? You got to drink water, you got to eat well, you got to rest, you got to make sure that you breathe, and you got to make sure that, you spend some time in physical exercise or some kind of physical physical activity to get your heart rate up, right? So if you got to do those things 5 times a day, you have to do those 5 things every day, right? Are they showing up on your things when you have your planning in solitude in the morning? Is that showing up in your planning in solitude? Because if it doesn't, are you going to get it done? Are you going to go work out? Are you going to pray? Are you going to drink that 64 ounces of water you guys got to drink? Are you going to eat that?
I put that on I put water drinking and walking on my calendar every day.
Right.
Every day. It's on my calendar, and I get an alert or an alarm, because I hate to drink water.
Right.
But I know it's something that you got to do. So, and I get a message every 2 hours to drink, an 8 or 16 ounce bottle of water.
Now I'm gonna say that's a holdover from my military training, learning how important water is, because I remember them, every time there was a heat emergency, we'd have to stand out and just wait until it was over, and then even though we weren't doing anything, we still had to drink two I don't know how much water was in those canteens, but we had to drink 2 canteens of water just because the temperature was up, and we weren't doing anything. We're sitting in the shade, not doing anything. Why are we doing all this? But they made sure they told us, so you got to stay hydrated. We don't want y'all passing out and all that kind of stuff. And now I watch this show. My wife and I watch this show. She loves the show. We watch the show Naked and Afraid. And we watch people suffer from dehydration all the time. And so I'm like, oh yeah, this is bad. I don't want to have a dehydration moment. I'm just plugging along, doing what I do, and all of a sudden, boop, I'm passed out, and somebody got to wake me up and drag me around because I'm 6'5", man. It's a hard thing to drag me around. So, I'd rather just save everybody from myself and hydrate and keep myself well and healthy. But those are things that you got to put in your daily task. You got to put them in your plan to do, and you got to make them a priority. Correct. So if you're not getting up early enough to do your exercise, to start your water program, to make sure you've planned your meals and what you're going to eat in order so you can eat healthy and whole, and try to eat as many vegetables as you can. I know I hate them too. I hate them. I really do. But I do know that resilience and strength are important to my ability to perform at the high levels that I want to perform at. And if I don't take care of myself first, it's almost like, they have that thing when you go get on an airplane and they tell you, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put your oxygen mask on anybody else. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're really not doing any good for other people. And in reality, we all have responsibility to other people, whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not. It's a truth of our humanity. We are responsible for one another. We're responsible for the example that we set. We're responsible for engaging correctly. And we can't do that when we're foggy because, we're malnourished, or, we got pains and aches that we didn't have to have because we didn't take care of ourselves. All these things is very difficult, because when you're engaging and your mind is not clear, then who's showing up is not the person that you want to show up. Who's showing up to the meetings, to the networking functions, to the whatever, who's showing up is the person that can't engage for the guilt of not being adequately prepared. Kevin mentioned that too. When you're going to go into something, be prepared. Even before we had the show, we had a little quick back brief. And even though Kevin has done this before, it's just going through the routine that I go through to make sure we got our technology right, to make sure we're all plugged in and we know what we're doing. And we know how to check in and look into the camera and do the things we need to do to make the show as best we possibly can. Now, you'd imagine after more than 200 shows, I wouldn't do this. But imagine a pilot, taking off a plane and not going through the checklist with the co-pilot to make sure all systems are working properly and everything's been checked. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing every day. When you sit down and you make your plans for the day, and then you keep that in front of you through the rest of the day as you go through it, you're giving yourself a reward every time you pull off one of the activities on your list. Check it off. Boom. Put it to the side. Put a mark through it. Have a party. Do whatever you need to do to celebrate that win. Because every time you do something that's good for you, that's good for your business, that's good for the roles that you play, is a success. It's a winning moment that you need to celebrate it. You need to honor it for exactly what it is. Every time I take something off my checklist, I just give a little thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for allowing me to be stronger, to do this one more thing. And then I get right to the next thing.
Every time I take one thing off, 4 more pop up.
I have a separate category for the stuff that's on other people's agenda that they want to put on my agenda. That waits. My agenda goes first. That's super important, because I need to know I'm taking care of me, and I need to see myself moving forward, getting stronger, delivering more. So that's the thing. One other thing that Kevin keyed up on, I have to say, is super, super, super important. Make commitments and follow up. If you don't follow through, if you don't make any commitments, then what are you following through on? Right? if you never said I promise to do something, or I will follow, I'll do this for you, or I'll help you with this. If you're not jumping in, fully engaged, because when you're fully engaged, you can do that, right? People know that you're all in, and then you say, I think I'm going to do blah 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 blah. They go, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's do that. Now the ball's in your court to go. Okay, when do you want to get it done? Okay, we want to do this. You got to write that down. I want to do this by February 10th or whatever that is, and I want to do this, that. I'll send you a confirmation, or I'll do this, that, and other, and make sure that we're on track. Is there anything we need to do to make sure that we keep this going? Take notes, write it down, execute, do it now. Because if you try to keep it in your head, oh, I'm gonna get back to my office, I'm gonna go through with that thing, and I'm gonna follow up with so and so. Now you got to go through all their phone protocols. You got to go through all the stuff that they use to keep people away from them. You got to break through that stuff, because you don't have the backdoor secret thing. But if you have all that contact information, and you've made a promise and say, you can send them an email, say, I promise I'll follow up. You do blah, 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 blah. I'm getting right on it right now. Is there anything else I need to do to make sure that we get this right? Blah, 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 blah. Ask, inquire, engage, be in the game, whatever the game that you're in, be all the way in. Don't feel like don't be shy and like, oh, I'm not sure they want me. If you say yes to your promise, they want you. And understand, and I'm talking to all of my SWAM businesses out there, I get that you're not sure whether you belong in the room. But if you're in the room, you have to be in the room all the way. And if you see that, there's people playing at a different level than you're playing in, step up. Ask the question, how do I play at that level? Mm-hmm. This is a secret, by the way, I'm going to give to you guys. This wasn't even playing thing, but I will share it with you. We're all playing the game of trust when it's all said and done. How do I win the trust from the people that I need to have the trust? And how do I learn to trust the people that I need to trust? And it requires practice. So Kevin said earlier, invest in your rest. You have to invest in being trustworthy, which means you have to ask the question. And guess what? My process for earning and delivering and developing trust, specific types of trust, and Kevin's process for delivering specific type of trust is specific to us. You can't do the same old stuff and think that we're both going to jump up and down and get excited and that. It's not going to work. So your traditional marketing approaches works for the masses, but it doesn't work for the individual. If you got to talk about an individual, you got to ask me personally, Marvin, what do you need to do? What do I need to do to earn your trust? And I'm going to ask you, well, what do you want to do with my trust? Because you're going to have to be more specific than that, right? I want to earn your trust so that you introduce me to some of the most powerful people that you know. Oh, you want that kind of trust? Well, let me tell you, you got to show up with competence. That's first and foremost. And then you have to show up with character. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why Kevin's on this call today. Because when I met him, oof. What's that?
Consistently.
Yes. But it doesn't take too much time to be consistent. People think that, it's going to take, they're going to take me 10 years. I got to have 10,000 meetings and cups of coffee and hanging out socially. It doesn't take that much time.
Correct.
All you got to do is make promises and keep them. And remind people that you keep your promises with, that you honor them and their time enough to keep the promises that you made. And it may sound stupid and redundant, like, of course I said I was going to do it. I don't have to remind somebody that I said I was going to do it. No, yes, you do. Because when people will fall back into their own behavior and expect that you're going to make some promises and you're not going to come through with it. So that's what they're expecting. They're expecting you to drop the ball. They're expecting you to let it down. They didn't even take you seriously when you said you promised to do it in the first place. They just said yes because it was easy to say yes. But when you come through with it, whatever you promised, now all of a sudden they're starting to realize this person has character, not just competence. Competence is easy to prove. I can show you all my certifications. I can show you all my list of things that I could do on my wall, of all all my degrees back there. I got to point in the right direction. I'm a competent person, all right, in very specific things, right? But character, that's kind of difficult to show. I can't show up and say I have a great character. I have integrity, so I'm trustworthy. I can say it, but that's kind of unbelievable. This is something that you got to show. You have to demonstrate it. And so you can only demonstrate it when you make promises and you keep those promises. And the more promises you make, the more promises you keep, the more you come off as who you are, which is trustworthy. You know, you don't fake it till you make it. You got to be it. You got to be a person of good character. That's just my sidebar comment. Let's get into what some of the other things that my good friend Kevin said. Being grateful. I can't tell you how useful it has been to me over the last, I'm going to say 5 years. I've been keeping a gratitude journal. And I force myself to write down every day 3 positive, powerful things that happened to me today. Now, every moment of every day, I'm in search of those great opportunities, right? And so it's easy for me because I'll tell you, I have a belief that every person that I come in contact with is an opportunity for something great to happen in my life. And so I'm looking for something great to happen all the time. I've trained my mind to constantly search for joy, fulfillment, happiness, greatness. And because I know I'm gonna have to, because first of all, I had to write it down. So I'm like, well, how am I gonna write down what I'm not looking for? How am I gonna be mindful, conscious in meditation, prayer, whatever it is? How am I gonna be aware when the good things happen if I'm so used to ignoring all the good things that have happened to me every moment of every day? Does that sound familiar to anybody? You know, most of us run an unconscious ignorance when I say this about all the wonderful things that are happening. You're breathing right now. That's something to celebrate because it doesn't have to be that way. Your heart is beating. You know, it didn't have to be that way. It could be, I mean, you know, as you get older, right, you get these more gray hairs, you start seeing your friends and their children disappear off this earth for reasons unexplained. None of us have to be here. You know, we got up every day. We got up this morning, and you know, it's something to be thankful and grateful for. But it's so much more than that basic stuff that we should be grateful for all the time anyway. But think about it. How difficult is it for you to look at the world as a place of opportunity? Just look at everything you do. Look at everything you can do. Look at every book you can read, all the stuff that you haven't done yet that you can still do, no matter what your physical abilities are. There's stuff that you can do. The fact that you can do it, that's something to be grateful for. Now, when you do it, oh my goodness, well, pat yourself on the back. That's a success, right? You did something that's different than your logical programming teaches you to do, because we all have a program for fear, blame, shame, and guilt, right? It's all running our natural program. We have it already embedded in us. That's to keep us safe. But now, once we get involved in something and we realize that, okay, the water's fine, we're already in, then swim. What are you doing? You know, you said you can complain about how cold the water is, or you can get to swimming. And I think that's the difference, I think, between a lot of people who start to build the habits of what they need to get tremendous success, you know, and stay there. Kevin said it. You got to keep it. You can't just get it. You got to keep it. You can't maintain it. Then the question you have to ask yourself is, have you earned it? Does it really belong to you? Or did you just fake it and make it? This is the wonderful book. I shouldn't suggest that you guys read this because it'll change your life, and then you'll blame it on me that your life has changed. I'm sorry. But this is The Earned Life by Marshall Goldsmith. I'm going through this right now. I'm reading it for the 5th time, and this time I'm going through, taking copious notes. I got it all marked up and all kinds of stuff. You know, it's not good for nobody anymore. I destroy books when I really, really consume them. But it's important because you need to realize, you know, that every minute of your life, you're earning the opportunities that's coming next. Every moment is an earned opportunity. Every moment you're in is earning the next opportunity. And so why not take advantage of this opportunity? Really enjoy it. Really, really Give yourself to it fully. That's what Kevin meant by engagement. Be all in. Don't sit around like, oh, I can't wait for this meeting to be over. No, I can't make. I'm gonna look at my phone the whole meeting. I'm taking notes. I'm not paying attention to people. The best thing you can give to people is your attention, because it validates their existence, and your attention validates their hope and their possibilities in their life. If you're talking to you and they're presenting to you, or you're in a meeting with you and you're otherwise engaged, you're just basically ignoring them like they don't exist. You are marginalizing that person or those people. You're saying they're not important, and you're saying it with your actual nonverbal communication. Don't do that. Be the kind of person that people want to be around by engaging and paying attention. That's all engagement is. It's paying attention. There's a word, paying, in that attention. It's a gift that you're giving to somebody else. It's a cost. It's something that you are investing in somebody else. If you become the habit of doing that, I promise you, it's going to pay back dividends in spades. You know, I tell this story because I pinch myself. I can't believe I did it. Just through LinkedIn alone, I assembled a group of who I think are the most talented, highly qualified, and super high character people. These are not people that I have a super high relationship with. These are just people that, I found, I began to engage. They began to engage back. We found ways to connect. And I asked because I needed, and they delivered because they could. And everybody enjoyed themselves tremendously. I'm getting nothing but positive feedback, not just from you guys, Kevin, but in the Leverage Up team. But the audience is like blown away, because a lot of you all didn't actually use the free tickets that you had, but those who did, everybody who came through, like, oh my God, I'm so glad they invited me. I got this much and I got this much and I'm learning this and da. Because oftentimes it's about information, and we all need information to give us hope and possibilities. But most of the time it's about people. It's not just about the information, it's about who gave us the information. I was in a call yesterday with the SBA. I was just they were talking about, what happened with President Biden's speech, and breaking down a whole bunch of, thought leaders were talking about the programs and everybody else, what they were doing and all that kind of stuff. And I kept hearing the same things you were talking about earlier, Kevin. In the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, you sound like you've had a lot of opportunity to share a lot of information for a long time with a lot of people, but I'm not seeing results. So I'm asking myself, is there real engagement going on? Are you truly these leaders of all these, major organizations who I'm not going to mention? But if you had the SBA program yesterday, you know who I'm talking about. But if they were really truly doing the thing that they were supposed to do, then they wouldn't have to stand up and thump their chest and, say we're doing amazing work and blah, 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 blah. It would speak for itself. And they did have a person who was there, who participated in some of the programs that the organization, they were like, listen, I could have got all the information by myself. I didn't really need you in your little program, right? The reality is what she needed, or what that person needed, was the relationships. And nobody was talking about that. Nobody was sharing that. Nobody was opening up that can of worms. It was just, oh, here's information. And, if we could read content, we could gain information. That's not difficult. Information is not difficult anymore, right? Because the internet changed the game. What we now need, though, is the relationships. When we talk about access to capital, access to opportunities, access to everything, when we don't have the relationships, and people who do have relationships, you take a different, same characteristics, same qualifications, but access to relationships is different. That changes the outcome, doesn't it? So
yeah.
You look at it. Well, what's different between me and you and that person? Well, it's the relationships. So I always tell people, if you don't have an advisory council, start to develop an advisory council. Turn it into an advisory board. Turn it into an actual board. Turn it into equity partnerships, and slowly get your way up to doing that. And those relationships don't have to take a long time to do. Don't have to be difficult to do. They just have to Follow the basic format. These are just, I have a 9-step program that I teach people all the time, but the first 3 steps in those programs are learn to listen, right? When people are talking, pay attention. And then once you figure out what they're talking about and what's relevant to them and what's special to them, make a promise based on your skill set, your talent, your abilities. Make a promise that to do something that furthers whatever their agenda is. Not your agenda, their agenda, because they got to be the hero in the story. And then the third situation, and this is easy, follow through and follow up. If you follow just those 3 things, you will find yourself on the precipice of the greatest relationships that you've ever had, professionally, personally, whatever that is. Listen, promise, follow up, and follow through. Those are the keys, the first 3 keys to relationship success. Now there's 6 more that we don't have time to talk about because we're talking about habits. But if you get in the habit of doing things like asking good questions to people, because questions are a way of engaging. See, as an introvert, I don't need to talk a lot. In fact, I'd rather not. But I'd rather ask the question, start the feedback loop going, so we can get that the juices flowing. Now we're coming up with something creative and innovative, and we're engaged in that way. But when I don't ask any questions, how do you stimulate conversation? By just yapping. You know, who's going to give you feedback when you're talking? You're not asking any questions. You're not even giving any space in the conversation for them to get in. I see that happen all the time, especially in networking functions. People, everybody's busy here. No, here's my card. And that's how I look at it. I'm like, is there something that you're really trying to say to me here? Is there something that I really need to know? And why do you think I need to know it? What is it that you know about me that would suggest I need to know what you're talking about right now? Because you haven't asked me one question. You know, and I'm thinking, you know, you're trying your basic marketing strategy with me, and this is an opportunity for you to go deeper. You got to ask questions. In order to do that, you got to know why I'm here. What are you hoping to get out of this event? That's a magic question. What are you hoping to get out of this moment? If all things were said perfectly, what do you want to accomplish this year that you weren't able to accomplish last year? Now you're getting out of small talk. You're getting into big talk. That's what I call big talk. And it creates engagement, like you were saying. Now, once you create engagement, you can't just rip the Band-Aid off and walk away and go, well, you're not fun talking to you. I got to go. You got to hang in there long enough to see an opportunity to win together. Make a promise. Follow through. And I tell people all the time, you go into a networking function, you don't walk out of there with 3 commitments that you've made, and you've got a plan on how to execute on those commitments, then you wasted your time. Because, you know, nobody wanted to hear your boring elevator speech. You know, nobody came to actually listen to you talk about anything. They came to further their ends. And so if you learn how to figure out what their ends are and you learn how to contribute to those ends, now they're in what I call a gratitude moment with you. And I'd rather have people be in those moments with me than not. You know, it's like, we like you, Coach Powell. Yeah, I like that too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I need all the love I can get. You know, I'm not. Kevin, are you still there? Are you frozen for me? Or
yeah,
you just okay? He's just still
taking it all in. I'm soaking it all in.
I got you. But I'm looking at. I got a couple people in the audience. Kevin, if you need to disappear, you need to go do your thing. I'll let you go. We've been at for a while. But if you want to hang out and answer some questions, that'd be fine too.
Oh, I'm good for a few minutes. All right,
you just let me know when you got to bounce. This is my girl, Annette. I love Annette. Annette is a supercharger. She's got a wonderful business in Brooklyn. She's coming through us on Facebook. She says hi, but she also says this is her stuff. So if you want to get to Vision of Gratitude and go hang out with Annette, you can find her online. She's absolutely supercharger, great lady. Anybody else out there who I got one. I got you. I have a hard time. I murder this name, but I want to make sure I pronounce it to the best of my abilities. This is Anusuzaman. Anisuzaman Khan. Yes, I think I got it right. If I got it wrong, I apologize, Mr. Khan. He's got a wonderful business. He's done medical billing out here in Northern Virginia in McLean. And thank you so very much for watching the show. I really appreciate you. And if you have any questions, anybody have any questions, put that information in the chat, man. Let's talk about it. If you have anything you want people to follow up on, if you want to introduce your website or anything like that, put it in the chat and I'll get to it. I got quite a few guests on the show, but they're playing shy today, Kevin. Which is fine.
No questions.
How about this? I'll ask you a question. How many of you all are happy with your current business habits, your day-to-day current business habits? And if you're happy, put 1 in the chat. If you're not happy, put 2 in the chat. And let's see if we can't get a little engagement going. See who's out there paying attention. Now, don't be surprised, Kevin, if we don't get any feedback, because that's a loaded question and nobody wants to answer. Candace, thank you so much. Candace, telling the truth out there. I see you, Candace, from Facebook. That's wonderful. It's good. It's good to know you're out there. And these things, like, none of us really, if you're being honest, are perfect, right? None of us are doing everything that even we know we should do. It's a lie. Remember that old lie that people tell you, if you know better, you do better? And that's not true. You know, a lot of us know better, but doing better requires something else. So I'll tell you a story of a client of mine who just needed the rest. You know, just like he stayed up late at night all the time reading books because he's so excited about what he's reading and he can't go to sleep now. I'm like, dude, that means you're dragging butt, you know, all in the first thing in the morning. You can't get up and get going. You got calls you got to get on. You got things you got to do. You got to be there for these moments, but you're not because you're in the fog because you're just waking up. He says, yeah, that's right. That's what's going on. I said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Every night when you go to bed, before you go to bed, I want you to send me a text message that you're going to bed. And every night you miss the time that you're supposed to be in bed, you owe your family $100. So, and I know after 21 days of doing that consistently, he's going to go to bed. If he can make 21 days and not have to owe his family members $100, I told him, go back and tell them, and you can't just tell me, because I realized I was going to have them be his accountability police, but he actually stays up later than they do. So that's going to be difficult to do, right? So I was like, don't worry about that. Just text me. And because I'll know when I get up in the morning, I'll know whether you texted me, you didn't text me. I'm like, wait a minute, you owe some money, and then I'm gonna hold you accountable, and I'm gonna make you pay your wife and your daughter that $100. So he paid him about 2 times before he realized that, you know what, this is costly. And then he changed it up. He started getting in bed. So what I'm telling you guys, when you want to develop your habits, and we're going to get more into this in future episodes, when you want to develop your habits, you got to change the stimulus and the response to your habit. I know that's easy for me to say, and I know it's hard for you to do, but think about it as a no-fly zone. That's my wife and I have that terminology. There's things that come before the temptation. Right? The thing that comes before the temptation to do the thing, you got to change that environment so that you don't even get stimulated to be tempted to do the thing that's negative, whatever that negative thing is. And so, but you got to be aware that you're doing it in order for you to make the change. So that's why that mindfulness is so important. You got to sit down with yourself and watch and see what you do that you don't like the fact that you do it, because you're doing it unconsciously. So you have to first bring it into your consciousness that this is a habit that I want to break, this is a habit I want to change. And you don't just replace it with a positive habit, because the negative habit doesn't go away. It's easy for you to fall back into the negative pattern. What you have to do is break the negative pattern. To break the negative pattern, you got to change the stimulus and the reward. I said response before. Cancel that. It's the reward. So you have to, because the reward you get for eating that piece of chocolate cake that turned into the whole cake is the satisfaction of that sugar rush, right? That was that reward you got. And
more like diabetes,
right? And then you might feel guilty about it. But that's an afterthought. You weren't thinking about the guilt before you ate the chocolate cake. You were thinking about the satisfaction of eating the chocolate cake. And so what you have to do is, there's no cake. You can't eat the chocolate cake if there's no cake. Who made the cake? Who brought the cake in the house? You got to change that environment so that you don't even have, because you don't even know the cake ain't even there.
How about that?
It's too inconvenient for you to go get the cake. You got to go all the way out to the store. You know, when the late night snack monster hits you and there's no snacks, guess what? You can't snack.
Drink water.
You know, then you're gonna be up. You know, if you got an old bladder like mine, you got to be careful about that. You got to drink your water early in the day. You don't do that at nighttime because you'll be up all night. But that's the point, guys. And show's coming to a close. Annette says something about growing and learning. Is there a question in that? Annette, I'm going to assume that that's what you're doing, and that's not really a question. But I thank you for the input. It matters a lot. We love to have you here. And if there's a question, definitely throw it out, and we'll see if we can't get to it. Anyway, guys, it's the time of the show. We got to close at the close because if we go too long, I can't replay this episode. But make sure that you look for the replay. It's gonna be coming out all next week. You'll get the chance to hang out with Kevin, and get to know him a little bit better. And by the way, he's on LinkedIn. And so if you want to snoop and poop and cyber stalk him, that's what I did. You know, you can find him on LinkedIn, and if he wants to engage with you, he'll engage with you there. You want to share any other contact information, Kevin, or you want to leave it at that?
We'll leave it there. Everything they need to know about me is right there in my profile.
Right. Oh, I'll make this last mention. By the way, people, when people share stuff on their profile, it's because they want to share that stuff. So it's okay for you to go read it. It's okay for you. I mean, I said I was cyber stalking Kevin, but I was just reading his profile.
Yeah, I just put up a really nice post on LinkedIn on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So
you did.
Click it, like it, share it.
Thank you so very much for that, Kevin. Thank you so much for your time. It was great having you in the audience. My boy is going to be showing up a little bit later, so I will say goodbye. And it was great to you. Then I will close out the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Coffee, Tea, You and Me with Coach Powell. This is Coach Powell. I'm Coach Powell, and I hope you had a great time. I know I did. It was great. It's great, and I have to do this by myself because I usually have to do this by myself. But when I have somebody like Kevin, and oh my God, it's just such a relief. As an introvert, you know, this is kind of hard to do now, but it's good to have a friend. And I thank you, Kevin, for so much of your time. It was great having you. I hope the audience enjoyed you. I know they did, by the way. And if you guys got any questions, again, as you watch the show, even if you watch later on, ask the questions in the chat, and we'll get back to you. God bless you. Have a great time. I know I did. And we are out. We're going to end this broadcast.